this little section is just to explain a little bit differently the therapeutic model of communication, the one where the external event comes in and it goes through the filters and it leads to a thought, emotion, and behavior. So this is a way to just sort of explain that a little bit in under a CBT umbrella, CBT and a little bit of DBT. Which is CBT's cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT's dialectical behavior therapy. So to explain this in a little bit different way from that perspective, we use the CBT Triangle, which is in the other screen here. And it explains that our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are interconnected. They're each influencing and affecting the others. The internal and the external event that occurs sort of in that picture of the therapeutic model of communication when it comes in. So either the thought from like that just starts inside the brain or that there's some external event from outside the brain comes in, it turns into a thought. So there's a thought about that stimulus, whatever that is, and that turns into a physiology in the body. So our body reacts physiologically, which we interpret as an emotion. So we label it as an emotion. And then we get an action urge or a behavior urge, an urge to behave in a certain way. So if we engage in that urge to behave, then we often cycle back around through the unhelpful thoughts and emotions cycle. Sometimes we have thoughts about our thoughts and emotions. Sometimes we feel emotions about our thoughts and emotions and behaviors. And so we can cycle back through this quite frequently. It's only the awareness of either the thought or the emotional reaction or the urge to behave in a certain way that we can start to have more insight into this process, and that we can start to exert some control over our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. So we need to have that insight or that awareness first. So Marsha Linehan, in the 2000s, early 2000s, she developed dialectical behavior therapy, and she explains, this is sort of explained in her Wise Mind handout and teaching. So she explains that we have two different minds. So we have a reasonable mind, which is kind of like a robot, so it only uses reason and logic. Reasonable mind sees the world through a very rational kind of a view of the world. It's cool and calm. It's very task focused. Maybe you know some people that tend to be in their reasonable mind all the time. On the other hand, we have an emotion mind. So our emotion mind is very hot and irrational. It's highly emotional, can be very dramatic. Emotion mind is mood dependent and very emotion focused. Again, maybe you can think of some people in your life that behave this way. So she describes that what we want is to use both our reasonable mind and our emotion mind. And when choosing behaviors and reactions, and she calls this a wise mind. So our wise mind acknowledges the wisdom that each person has, and it sees the value in both the logic and the emotion. So it takes the middle path, bringing the left and the right brains together. And in essence, it's using both our head and our heart at the same time. So that's just a little bit of a more in-depth or different kind of way to explain that therapeutic model of communication.